it's so good! The OnePlus 12, a phone that's likely gonna contain my personal SIM card for a good chunk of 2024. And I think one of the best ways to show off what I like about this phone so far is to compare it against last year's OnePlus 11. These are not the same tier of phones. OnePlus 11, it was a great device last year, but it was a pivot to lower costs and make a more mainstream, cost-competitive option. The OnePlus 12 is like an open that doesn't open. It moves up the food chain, even though OnePlus doesn't call this a Pro. This does not feel like a compromise to reach a lower price. It's now offering the best of what OnePlus can produce. We see a clear evolution from the OnePlus 10 to the 11 to the 12. I like this marble-like image that's kind of built into the backplate. It's a really pretty green and it's got a little bit of shape to it. I like it better than the sort of more standardized or matte finished look from the OnePlus 10 Pro. It's not rough, it's not sandstone. I do miss the OnePlus sandstone phones, but it is a bit less slippery than some of the satin finished OnePluses we've used before. I do wish OnePlus would move to flatter sides and flat screens though, but overall I think the OnePlus 12 is a very pretty phone. We do see a new button layout where the power button and volume rocker are now on the same side, where they were on opposite sides on the OnePlus 11 and OnePlus 10. Flipping our notification rocker switch over to the other side of the phone, and if you're a cranky old guy like me, maybe that will help reduce the number of screenshots you accidentally take when you turn your phone off. And of course, the IR blaster is here to use this as a universal remote. Now, both of these phones have great screens. We've got 1440p OLEDs at 120 Hertz, but the 12 can burst quite a bit brighter in the auto brightness mode when it's really bright around you. It's very difficult showing this off in the Gadget Lab, and it's clearer to see in direct sun. And this one's nitpicky, but I do like the fingerprint sensor being just a hair higher on the OnePlus 12 than the OnePlus 11. I like both of these because you're not reaching your thumb down to the bottom edge of the screen, but for my little hobbit hands and stumpy thumbs, I kind of like the placement just that little hair higher. I like what the OnePlus 12 is doing. And getting into a little performance conversation, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is a beast of a chip, and we've now moved up to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and it's really hard to reflect those improvements if we're looking at Geekbench scores. Of course, I have been doing a lot of that testing and tracking on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy, putting together all of these charts, kicking off the year with Vivo and iQOO, but now with the OnePluses, you can get a really close look at how all of these phones perform when we tax them with real things like video editing and rendering, or podcast mixing, or batch photo processing. These charts are Patreon exclusives, patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy, and I have to thank the folks over on the Patreon because these videos would literally not exist without their support. That's where you're really gonna see some of these performance differences, and where you're gonna see the 8 Gen 3 really shine and find some new applications that really benefit from some extra horsepower. But very generally, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 came in and it's one of the single best year-over-year performance upgrades we've seen. Not so great Samsung produced 8 Gen 1 to the TSMC produced 8 Gen 2. I think we're gonna be talking about the 8 Gen 2 for years to come. I think these phones are gonna age really well over time. The 8 Gen 3 is more powerful, but it can also draw more power at peak performance. And it pushes us into a new tier of content creation. What you can do rendering video or mixing down audio is absolutely stunning. It's faster at every task I can throw at it than the OnePlus 11. And this new GPU is an absolute monster, but this is an area where I think OnePlus is still managing the performance on their phones a little bit more. I've already shown off on like Vivos and iQOOs where we can start tracking up to 100 frames per second in a game like Alien Isolation here. It's really cool seeing 60 frames per second buttery smooth, and the phone is nowhere near maxing out its capabilities. But if you don't mind your phone running just a little bit warmer, you can start tracking up to 90 and 100 frames per second, areas of performance that we cannot touch with something like a Valve Steam Deck. OnePlus is making better use of the Qualcomm components, and now in their game mode, we've got a whole bunch of new options for frame rate boosting and HDR and upscaling. We're gonna see a lot of support in here to use these more advanced features, and OnePlus has been talking about partnerships with game developers to really bring out what this chip can do well. But I think it's just gonna be a trend and maybe a reflection of how anxious they were about performance on the OnePlus OnePlus 10, that a OnePlus is not going to be the kind of phone that's just going to go completely all out, not going to run to its absolute peak thermal limits. Instead, they're going to look at a window of performance where they know they can maximize the player experience. Because of the way that OnePlus handles this, it's gonna feel similar to where we were on the OnePlus 11. You might not fully realize these performance advantages until we get a little bit more support from other game developers in utilizing these Qualcomm features. Now, one of the other major upgrades I think people are going to enjoy is a return to premium charging and USB features. We still have the fastest wired charging in North America, and the fastest charger is in the box. I gotta say, folks, I'm really not the biggest fan of wireless charging when we have actual, real fast wired charging. I didn't miss it at all on the OnePlus 11. I haven't missed it in the slightest on the OnePlus Open. And I understand why so many nerds get super cranky, because they've spent all of that extra money to put coils around their house so they can slowly charge phones. You need to have that when you have the battery anxiety of your phone trickle charging at like 10 watts. Whereas on a OnePlus, a OnePlus 11 or a OnePlus 12, you plug it in for 10 minutes and you're good to go for a whole other day. I'm not exaggerating. 10 minutes is a whole day of use. Please stop acting like wireless charging is this grand premium feature that you absolutely need. It's only because Apple has conditioned you into always needing to charge your phone because it charges so slow. Wireless charging, it makes a return on the OnePlus 12. It has reverse wireless charging, so you can charge up your friend's iPhone, even though they probably wouldn't have returned the favor to you. And of course, OnePlus sent this along with their AirVook compatible charger, 50-watt wireless charging. This will charge faster wirelessly than a Samsung or an Apple can charge over a cable. But better still, the feature I care about, the one that I think is really exciting, is video output is returning to the OnePlus 12. I love that. We can hook this up to an external monitor or a laptop, or we can plug it into a TV or connect it to some of these fancy XR glasses. It's a feature that can significantly open up a phone for more compute work. So if you consider yourself a power user, this feature should be table stakes. And I was so sad that we lost that on the OnePlus 11. I was so excited we got it back on the OnePlus Open, and now the 12 is basically an Open that doesn't open. Okay, and just a quick look at software. I'm glad Oxygen OS is less like stock Android. There, I said it! OnePlus improves on almost every action and includes significantly better conveyance for advanced features than anything Google has done on the Pixel. For example, floating windows. That's a fun way to get just like one app on your screen while you do something else on another app. There's a specific gesture and then a tile to support that action that is clearly indicated to the user how to do the thing. This extends to the rest of the multitasking layout where we get a little 3-button menu. Floating window, split screen, we can hide content, go directly into managing, or lock the app in place, but we know something's there to do. If you're using a Pixel, you just have to know that you long press on an icon to get additional menus. That is not good conveyance. This is good conveyance. And while a lot of phones have been including additional navigational features like these little flip out side panels, the OnePlus side panel is starting to borrow just a little bit more from the Open, where we get these quick toggles, these quick actions, but then also recent files and this file dock. So just like we have the clipboard for copying and pasting out of our keyboard, we can now very quickly move files around on the phone's operating system into the different apps that you might want to use. And I'm sure we'll see some other examples of what this AI processing hardware can do. Well, OnePlus is starting us off with some really basic tools that I think are going to be fun for folks in a very pixely kind of way. So I've been playing around with the cameras and you can see, oh, well, there's got like this depth of field effect. This is in the portrait mode. But if I didn't take that photo in the portrait mode, I can just long press. The phone automatically determines what the subject is, outlines it, and now I can do similar editing and processing to this photo that I would have been able to do in the portrait mode. I can copy this, now I can send this to the device, and let's see, I'm just gonna put this back in my photos. And look, here's like this outline. It even kind of got my sleeve right, even though there's a shadow hitting the phone hitting my sleeve here, Qualcomm and MediaTek are making these huge statements and these huge claims about what AI is going to bring us. And obviously something like this is a little on the simple side, but already getting started. Little touches like that I think will go a long way to getting people interested in what other things they can do with AI processing. I mean, even down to our notification shade. This is something that I've also praised recently on Vivo and iQOO in their updated Fun Touch. I like this balance of smaller icons like from Android 11 with bigger toggles from more Material You, the more modern Android 14 aesthetic. I think the combo of both actually makes this a little bit cleaner, and you can pack more in your notification shade to quickly adjust. I mean, developer skins used to be garbage, right? But there's almost no performance hit when we use something this customized. And we can make a device feel unique while still delivering all of the familiar Android bits that people are accustomed to. I mean, I get it, folks. There's this like popularity conversation that has to happen around smaller brands, smaller companies like OnePlus, but we keep repeating or regurgitating these truisms about what the glory days of OnePlus was. The OnePlus 7 Pro was 5 years ago. 5 years ago. OnePlus has made better phones since then. It's okay to like some new things or to appreciate how one manufacturer has a different take on what they want to do to make a phone feel unique. A quick chat about the cameras. I'm gonna have a lot more to say about the camera performance here, and it's gonna be very similar to what I just recently published looking at the OnePlus Open, doing a camera deep dive on this foldable. The OnePlus 12 is kind of an open that doesn't open. And these are a noticeable upgrade over the cameras on the OnePlus 11. So we got a lot of claims on things like light and processing, and I'd say those claims are accurate. This is excellent detail and very good low light performance. And OnePlus is producing now some of the best crop zooming I've seen this side of a Xiaomi or a Pixel Pro. With some really truly helpful features like that new exposure lock in the full auto mode, people who still keep repeating the same old tired hack complaints about OnePluses having the mediocre cameras. These folks are basically telling you they don't take the time to get familiar with OnePlus phones after an update or two. You can't really get a handle on that until you use one for a bit and you see how they perform. I saw some great feature and bug fix improvement on the OnePlus Open after waiting for the second update. If you can't get fantastic shots out of an Open or a OnePlus 12, that's really more a commentary on your skill as a photographer. It's not the phone. And if you want to peek at what the OnePlus 12 camera review is going to look like, it is. It's going to be really similar to the Open that I just recently published on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. All right, I've been plugging that enough. I think we should start wrapping this video up. The OnePlus 11 was a good compromise to fight on price. The OnePlus 12 is a better premium option, coming out swinging at a competitive price. This is not called a Pro or a Plus, but it's fighting in a space that's going to go head-to-head against an iPhone 15 Plus or a Galaxy S24 Plus. It closes in on the Pro tier. It probably stands just shy of like an iPhone Pro, but it's at a price that would embarrass an iPhone 15 Plus. And that's always been the hook that reviewers overlook with OnePlus. The OnePlus 12 is exactly how we should want to kick off a new year of phones in North America. If you're gonna spend more than $600 on a phone, we should expect a more complete solution, a more premium option. We should expect the potential to do a lot more. And that's what's exciting about premium handsets. It's not the marketing from trillion-dollar brands. It's not the consumer lock-in to an ecosystem they can't escape. Will a new premium phone give a curious user better tools to do more on the go? And of course, I'd like to hear from you because I think 2024 is going to be a tricky year for people shopping in this premium tier. We've seen some incredible sales on the OnePlus 11, so if you don't need some of the more advanced power user features, how do we think this is going to stack up against a OnePlus 12R? Drop me some of those tasty hot takes down underneath this video and maybe smash your bell icon on your way down to comment. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to my channel. All of the support lately, all of the support has been absolutely fantastic. Those of you who are hitting my home site, SomeGadgetGuy.com, or clicking on links in video descriptions, Or maybe you're joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen from my Patreon. That's patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of people, they're the coolest tech pals in the universe, and they get exclusive access to my charts and graphs as I'm setting up new phones, and of course, the camera deep dives that are gonna come a little bit later, where you can get a sneak peek at the OnePlus 12 camera performance by looking at my OnePlus Open review. These folks are the coolest because these videos would literally not exist without their support and their generosity. I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy. Basically everywhere, but these days I'm spending a bit more time on the Mastodons, a little time on the Threads and the Flickrs, a little less so on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and definitely not on the Twitters, and I will catch you all on the next video.